What is NASA hiding? Recently, Ross Coulthart made some really intriguing comments confirming a lot of the rumors we've been hearing about NASA suppressing UFO information, even as they potentially interact with the phenomenon. He doesn't go quite that far, but he does heavily suggest that they have been pressuring astronauts into not revealing actual encounters they've been having in space. This is a huge story. Get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, share on social media, and as I'm going through the story, please comment below and let me know what you think. Oh, also, please consider supporting the channel by becoming a channel member to receive exclusive access and videos. See the first line in the description below. Or you can simply leave a tip in the tip jar with the super thanks feature right next to the like button. Another fun way you can support the channel is to buy one of my books. I write fantasy and science fiction novels. That's me, Jack Connor. That's one of my books, The Atomic Sea. So look for that on Amazon. Okay, on with the story. We have known that NASA has been hiding stuff for years. There have been rumors about them airbrushing stuff out of photos and editing videos, cutting away live feeds whenever there is a UFO, for example. All sorts of stuff where they have been hiding the UFO phenomenon from the public. Now, why would they be hiding the stuff from the public? Is that because they are under some sort of directive from the control group, aka the Area 51 guys, aka the breakaway group? It's hard to say just how much direct involvement they have in the government's program or programs. I think there's probably multiple programs. But recently, Ross Coulthart came out with some really intriguing things where he says astronauts are seeing these things regularly, and they are actually, the UFOs are following them to the moon and back. This is wild. Okay, here's Ross's comments.
I'm very interested, though, for the simple fact that one of my sources, who I've given the pseudonym The Spaceman in my book, In Plain Sight, he was a personal friend of Edgar Mitchell, the Apollo 14 lunar module pilot. And Edgar told him that as an astronaut, they were told that there were certain things that they would see involving UAPs on their missions that they weren't allowed to talk about. And Edgar told my friend, the Spaceman, that he believed that the craft that they were in, the Apollo 14 command module and lunar module, they were followed all the way out from the Earth, surveilled while they were on the moon, and then followed all the way back. Now, it's very interesting because one of the things about NASA is when you have heroes of the status of Edgar Mitchell making these kind of public statements, it's very hard for NASA to take its own people on. You know, this is a guy with degrees that frankly, most people can't even read the thesis behind those degrees. He was a phenomenally highly educated man, brilliant man, and just the sort of person that the American government chose to trust with these billions of dollars of technology. And he achieved a successful mission, as did a lot of the other astronauts in their Apollo missions. And so it's very hard for them to denigrate. They can't attack these people. And there are other people, is it James McDevitt, who said that he photographed an object, a tubular cylindrical shaped object that was hovering in space off his craft.
Isn't that amazing? So we've got UFOs actually following astronauts all the way to the moon and back. This is crazy. Why are they following astronauts to the moon? Is it because there's something on the moon that they are protective of? Because there are other stories about astronauts seeing UFOs on the moon itself. There are other stories, mainly from remote viewers, who have actually seen structures on the moon, inhabited structures. Sometimes in some of the stories they're abandoned, sometimes they are currently inhabited. If that's true, and if NASA is preventing astronauts from talking about this, that heavily implies they are aware of what's going on the moon and the structures on the moon. in the activity on the moon, the UFO activity on the moon. So if they're aware of it and they're sending people to the moon, does that mean they are interacting with whatever is on the moon? And obviously, in our skies and seas and everywhere on Earth. How much involvement does NASA have with the phenomenon? Again, it's very difficult to say, but I have a hard time believing that something like NASA would be suppressing this information for these many decades without a directive from the control group and without active involvement from the control group. And we know that the control group is heavily involved with the phenomenon. Again, there's Terry Lovelace's story among many others, but I love the Terry Lovelace story because Terry Lovelace has been vetted by Lou Elizondo. And Terry Lovelace speaks of seeing 50 or more military guys aboard a giant UFO, which, smacks of heavy involvement by the military, surely working with the breakaway group, heavy military and government involvement with the phenomenon. Does that equate to the secret space fleet? Not necessarily, but it certainly leans in that direction. And the evidence for the deep underground military bases is very strong. So I don't think that you can get deep underground military bases without some sort of secret space program. To me, those two things go together. You wouldn't need the deep underground military bases unless there was a secret space program. So, that is a subject for a different video, but it does show you it hints at some of the involvement or the level of involvement that we or, the government, the breakaway group has with the phenomenon. So, if they are working with NASA, it makes, total sense that they would suppress this stuff. It might also make sense that NASA itself or some core group in NASA is working with the phenomenon as well. Ross Coulthart goes on, however, to praise Bill Nelson in his comments. I've recently made a video about that, about a speech he gave about a year ago, where he essentially said that, the Nimitz incident was alien technology. So what does it mean that Bill Nelson is now saying that they are going to get to the bottom of the U.A.P. issue? Bill Nelson is openly saying this stuff is alien, and they're going to get to the bottom of it. But, NASA has been hiding this stuff for a long time. And they have been sitting on some, as Ross Coulthart himself says, a gold mine. Here's Ross saying that.
I know, and it's funny because, look, I've got to be careful here, but I've had private conversations with people who have worked at NASA and have worked in agencies that work with NASA, and they are adamant that NASA is sitting on an absolute treasure trove of data.
So NASA is sitting on a gold mine. Surely Bill Nelson has access to that. You would think that the director of NASA would have access to that. On the other hand, I think the presidents of the United States generally are not read into the program. So is it possible that the director of NASA is also not read into the program? That all this is managed by, some core group, some mid-level management or upper mid-level management kind of thing? Possibly. We will see how things shake out. I want to believe that Bill Nelson is on the level. But and if he really wants to get to the truth of this, he only really has to look in the archives of NASA or wherever the hell they're keeping this stuff. But I think it's fascinating that the astronauts are seeing UFOs everywhere. This is a common thing that astronauts see, as we would expect them to. If pilots are seeing this, why not astronauts? It makes perfect sense. And it also makes sense for NASA to pressure them into silence if indeed NASA is part of the program, of the control group, whatever you want to call it. So I think that makes total sense. But that is because there is a cover-up. There is something that the government is, or whatever you want to call it, the faction, the control group, the Area 51 guys, the breakaway group. They are doing some massive involvement with the phenomenon. To me, that goes beyond just reverse engineering technology. If it were simply that, we wouldn't see 50 military guys aboard a giant UFO. There's something serious going on here, something huge. So, we'll see if these current efforts by Bill Nelson and the U.A.P. task force, or Arrow, if they can actually make any headway on this. There's all sorts of exciting developments happening, and I will be talking about more of those in a future video. But let me know what you think about this story about NASA silencing astronauts, and let me know what you think the astronauts are seeing up there and what it means. I'd be fascinated to hear your comments. And if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. Please smash the subscribe button and hit the bell so you don't miss a single video. Please join me on social media. There's Facebook and Twitter links below. And please, if you enjoy these videos, please consider supporting the channel by becoming a channel member. See the first line in the description below, and there's 2 tiers of membership to receive exclusive access and videos. Until next time, this is Jack with Cosmic Road.